continental United States. And in the last one decade, as you might have been following, the last couple of months, lot of reports have appeared in media, and these obviously have not been either proved or disproved so far, that they have also tested a DF-41 missile, and that DF-41 has the target and ability to really reach any part of the United States. So that shift from the continental United States to any part of the United States again has been a byproduct of their focus on achieving this capability. All these issues are really guided by the larger picture which the US has been demonstrating, and that part I will not touch upon another space weaponization, and how they really have been focusing on the national missile defense system. And the national missile defense system, as it is known technically, how it will challenge the second strike capabilities of China. And in that context, China has been focusing more on acquiring a lot of countermeasures, a lot of decoys, a lot of stealth technology, and also it has been focusing on achieving a lot of high-tech sensors and high-tech strategic technology. So question here is that a lot of these largely are seen in the context of their requirement in terms of having certain capability which they cannot really, which they require in terms of countering the United States influence across the globe. So this, the increase, which is quite substantial in terms of their operational capabilities over the years, has really been able to raise a lot of debates among the strategic community, not only in India but across the globe. The attempt is being made, especially among the scholars, and especially in the US and India, that how China can be understood. It's very complex in terms of deciphering anything on China's emerging capabilities, because a lot of information which keeps coming are on the basis of intelligence estimates, and these information certainly have a lot of ramifications, because many times what happens is that a lot of the analysis which is done on China, especially their strategic capabilities, turn out to be conjecture. But a lot of the issues which have come from their white papers which they started issuing, especially in the, after mid-90s and all, and those papers which really come from their Politburo and their establishment, they really have been signaling about their overall repositioning in the international system. So what are those areas which they are focusing on? What are those capabilities which they have achieved? And how those capabilities have really emerged as a matter of concern, not only for the United States but also for India. Because I would also touch upon that, does India require to in fact show any concern in terms of responding to the development which China has been undergoing? Because the requirements are different. If you see the threat perception analysis of both India and China, the requirements are different in terms of attaining those capabilities. Does India require anything beyond China? Question is, China's requirement is something beyond the Asian continent. So they really have been focusing on a lot of other strategic areas where they can have those capabilities. So these questions, whether India requires to show any concern in terms of the development which is taking place in China, especially in the strategic sector, these questions can be seen in terms of the larger threat perception matrix. But at the same time, I would like to emphasize on the ballistic missile doctrine of China and the nuclear doctrine of China, and how they have been focusing on these two major doctrines, and how they have been attaining those capabilities. What exactly is their fundamental goals? What is their intentions? What exactly is they would like to really signal to the rest of the world? So there is no point, there is no, I think, dispute in the debate that they certainly have the strategic aspiration to emerge as one of the major powers in the world. But at the same time, through their doctrine, if someone tries to analyze those doctrines, they would like to be modern, but at the same time, they would like to have a very small number of their strategic weaponry. They would not like to expand their capabilities in terms of thousands of nuclear warheads. They would not like to really attain the ballistic missile capabilities hundreds in numbers. So again, even to decipher their intercontinental ballistic missile capability, they certainly have very limited requirement in terms of their assessment. So they are not going the way the US or the formerly Soviet Union had gone in terms of attaining those strategic capabilities. So their emphasis is to be modern, to stay small but modern. And that is how they really would like to emphasize their overall capability. And this is reflected only because of their focus on having minimum deterrent capability, that is minimum nuclear deterrent capability. And that really suggests minimum again is very relative in terms of giving a number to it. For again, the definition of minimum is always relative in terms of deciphering. But to a larger extent, whatever assessment the analysts have done about China's capabilities, they certainly do not want to achieve a capability in thousands, the way the US has done, in terms of achieving 1,000 nuclear warheads, hundreds of ballistic missile delivery systems. So all these things certainly are not reflected the way China has been evolving its strategic posture. So the strategic posture suggests that they would like to be small but modern. They would like to see how they have the dominance, not only in the region, but also across the globe, by having that limited capabilities. So the focus of their doctrine has been on the minimum nuclear deterrent capability. The focus of their doctrine has been on no first use, which again suggests that how they would have a capability where they can absorb the first strike and then retaliate, because no first use doctrine again is a very unique doctrine among this China's nuclear posturing. And again they have a combination of both counter value and counter force strategy, where they really keep the option to attack both the population center as well as their nuclear installation. So as you know, the combination of both counter value and counter force strategy, they have a minimum credible nuclear deterrent capability, they have a no first use doctrine. So through these, one can infer that their focus right now has been to target the United States by having a long range ICBMs, because of lot of development which the US has undergone over the years. And right now their focus is on achieving a lot of high-tech devices with the stealth capability to evade the US NMD system, because the US NMD system had challenged China's strategic capabilities. And in that regard, in the last one decade, China has also seen a substantial increase in the number of their ICBMs. Because what happens that once the NMD has been deployed, that has signaled China's weaknesses in its existing capabilities. So the more number of ICBMs they have been focusing to acquire, the modest estimate which exists in the public discourse, in the public domain, that says that they have roughly 30 ICBMs. But in the last 5 years ago, they had 20 ICBMs. So now again the focus is to have this combination of DF-31 and DF-41, long range series of missile, and then also DF-5. They have these three categories of ballistic missile, DF-5, DF-31 and DF-41, which are largely the intercontinental ballistic missiles, which have the range varying from 9,000 km to 12,000 km. So this again is a very unique capabilities which really has been able to make the US very careful in terms of making any assessment on China. The second important part, because of the growing interdependence between the US and China, certainly the cost of the war has become so high that none of these two countries can afford to have any physical war in the foreseeable future. So ultimately that also has become a larger part of the analysis in the overall strategic posturing of China. Because both these countries know it very well that they will never go for a war, a physical war, and at the same time both the countries have been emphasizing in achieving this capability. As you know that the United States also has been focusing more on replacing its existing nuclear arsenals by their replacement of reliable warhead program. And that again is those nuclear warheads which were aging, they have been replacing with the newer ones. So these changes again have a lot of ramification for China's force structure. The other part which I say that the ballistic missile doctrine, which again is very important, that one has to understand that that through the achievement of all categories of, through the acquisition of all categories of ballistic missile, starting from the short range to medium range, intermediate range, and intercontinental ballistic missile range, I think they have been able to cover all the US allies in terms of seeing that how they have deployed, the way they have deployed is very interesting. their deployment pattern suggests that they have been able to guard themselves very well in terms of any action which the US undertakes or any action which India undertakes against China in any part of the region. So that they have been able to deploy all the medium range ballistic missile, especially DF-15 and DF-21 against India. And that again is symbolically sending the message to India that they are well prepared in terms of responding to any of the things happening across the border. Other missiles which they have been able to deploy is again targeted on the US allies in Asia, mostly Taiwan and Japan. And that again is a very important development which has happened over the years because of their emphasis on the new generation of road mobile solid propellant system. And this really have been a part of or a byproduct of their modernization program. As far as India is concerned, I said that does India require to respond to the developments in China? Does India require to achieve or match up with the capabilities which China has? So all these questions again become a part of strategic discourse, obviously among the academic community in India. Does India require to respond? And it requires what India shall be doing. So it's very difficult to match up with China's capability. Does India become a part of the arms race in the region? So all these issues again one has to very carefully assess